Israel releasing this video right here that it says shows Hamas terrorists firing a projectile at a UNICEF aid convoy. That convoy heading to reunite children in northern Gaza with their families in the south. Now, the Israel Defense Forces saying it's more evidence that Hamas is jeopardizing the safety of Gazan civilians. Now, over in the north, Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon appear to be on the brink of a possible war, with attacks by the terror group only intensifying. Do want to talk more about all of the latest developments here, so let's bring in John Strawson, an emeritus professor in the Department of Law, Justice and Policing at the University of East London. As always, John, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today.
Pleasure to be with you, although I'm sad to be talking about these events.
Yeah, well, I do want to talk really briefly here about the video that I just popped up. The IDF just releasing it a short time ago, saying that Hamas is firing at that convoy that had children on board. More evidence, the IDF says, that, Hamas is harming civilians there. What do you make of video like that as it is released?
The security situation for all the humanitarian workers in Gaza has been terrible from the beginning of the delivery of aid. And the security is threatened by several sources, by the fighting between Hamas, Islamic Jihad, and the IDF, but also the way in which Hamas have sometimes tried to take some of the supplies, humanitarian supplies, for their own purposes. It's very unclear why they would try to attack this particular convoy, given that it's actually about trying to reunite families, which is actually one of the big demands that Hamas have been making in the ceasefire negotiations. So it's very, very odd that they're doing it. And of course, the other threat that the humanitarian aid operatives have faced is from ordinary Gazans desperate to get hold of food, medicines, and other supplies. So it has been a really dangerous moment for all of those engaged in the heroic task of trying to deliver humanitarian aid. And it is quite shocking that this does seem to be a verifiable example of Hamas actually attacking a convoy trying to unite children with their parents.
I do want to talk a little bit more about what's going on in the north here, as Israel's former defense minister Benny Gantz saying Tuesday that the Israeli military can destroy Hezbollah's military capability in, quote, a matter of days. Your thoughts there? Because I know that we keep saying it, on the brink of a possible war, so to speak.
I think that the Secretary of Defense, Austin, was quite right when he issued a statement saying that a general war between Hezbollah and Israel, an upscaled war, would be a disaster, a catastrophe, both for Israeli and for Lebanese civilians. I have to say, I have a great respect for Benny Gantz, but I'm not sure that any action that the Israeli Defense Force could take against Hezbollah would be over in a matter of days. After all, in Gaza, against a much less organized military force, much less well-equipped, and we're talking of Hamas with the maximum of 40,000 fighters and with rather unsophisticated weapons. We're talking of Hamas with somewhere in the region, according to its leader, Nasrallah, of somewhere in the region of 100,000 potential forces. It has 150,000 rockets and missiles and drones, some of which are very sophisticated. I don't think that if it's taken Israel 9 months to get to the stage where it's got to with Hamas, that it would be a matter of days to destroy the potential of Hezbollah.
And I do want to stay in the north and talk a little bit more about the situation there, because we know that Canada has now started urging its residents to evacuate, to leave Lebanon, as that war does appear imminent, according to many experts there. My question, do you think that other countries are going to start to do the same and say, you need to leave Lebanon immediately.
I think that probably is going to happen. And I think that there's a very good reason why the Canadians are saying it, because during the Lebanese Civil War, which ended in about 1990, for 15 years, the Canadians were very generous in granting refugee status to Lebanese. And so quite a lot of Lebanese citizens have dual Canadian Lebanese citizenship. So I think they do have a particularly large Canadian community in Lebanon, and that's probably why they are first to issue this, but I would expect that others would follow suit.
All right, the ruling by the High Court of Justice that the Israeli government must draft the ultra-Orthodox yeshiva students into the military. Why is it being called a landmark ruling, and how soon does it go into effect, the impact, all of that?
Well, that's a very interesting question. It's a landmark ruling because after 76 years of what the founder of Israel, David Ben-Gurion, called a sort of an accommodation with the ultra-Orthodox community, to let them get on with what they did, which was praying and studying, and let the rest of the state that was mainly secular get on with their task, including, of course, building the IDF and defending the state. That basically what's happened this week is that for a decisive break with what was known as the status quo has taken place, and that the High Court has said, no, it is inequitable that those who, just because they come from a religious background, a particular religious background, because many of those who are religious do serve in the IDF, but those who come from a particular religious background should also bear the burden. And it's not an accident that it's taking this decision. It's long running in the courts, I should say, but it's not an accident it's taking place now, it seems to me, because obviously for the last 9 months, a large number of Israeli young people and reservists who are older have been sacrificing their lives and suffering terrible injuries in the fight in Gaza. And so it seems fairly obvious that there should be a more equal burden sharing between the communities in Israel. So it is a very important decision. And it is interesting that it was entirely unanimous, which is unusual, actually, in the Israeli High Court. There was a whole panel of 9 justices. So the fact that they all agreed with this position, it was very important. And basically, the government will have to start the process of recruitment very soon. And part of the decision, by the way, is that the government subsidies to yeshivas, which are not cooperating with this law, must be cut if they do not allow the recruitment of their students.
My last question for you here before I let you go, and I want to make sure I get this worded correctly. Israel's national security advisor saying the process of finding a new leader of Gaza outside of Hamas will first be implemented in northern Gaza and will be launched, quote, soon. What exactly does that mean overall? Do we have any sort of idea at this point?
Well, Zaki Hanegbi, who is the national security advisor, is basically proposing that there needs to be some kind of day after solution in Gaza. Don't forget, we are getting really towards the end of the intense fighting in Gaza. I think that it's probably another week and it will be absolutely over. I think the operation in Rafah will be the end of it. It wouldn't mean to say that Hamas is completely defeated. That would be wrong, but undoubtedly the major capacity will be defeated. And what Hanegbi is saying is that there needs to be some change. Now, it's very interesting that I suspect that any attempt by Israel to provide a leadership in Gaza while the Israeli forces are still there would discredit any of the leaders that they would propose. So any non-Hamas Gazan leader who is appointed or seems to be appointed or allowed to be appointed while Israel is in control will really not have any authority. And it's very interesting that the president of the Palestinian Authority, Mahmoud Abbas, has over the last week issued a proposal to create an interim council of Palestinian figures from Hamas, from Gaza, not from Hamas, to run the territory as soon as the Israelis withdraw from it.
All right. John Strawson, as always, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here. A lot of news to break down in just a matter of minutes there. So thank you again for being here. Anything else you want to add about any of this before I let you go?
Well, I was very struck with the item you had before, which was a parent of one of the hostages speaking. And I think that the question of this ceasefire deal, which now Prime Minister Netanyahu has come out openly and said that the deal which President Biden announced is indeed an Israeli proposal. And I think that what the mother of that hostage was saying is absolutely true. We are now so long into this terrible process in which the hostages have been living under a terror every single day, as have their families. And having looked in the eyes of the hostages' families when I visited Israel, I'm very struck by how important it is to keep the hostages in mind, but also to say to the Israeli government, surely, in fact, as many Israelis are saying, the time really has come to do a deal and to release these hostages before more die.
All right. John, thank you again for taking the time to be here with us today. We appreciate it.
It's nice to be with you, as always.